All right, it is 9 a.m. I'll call the December 18th meeting of the Floyd County Board of Supervisors to order. First item is approving the agenda, and there's been a little change because we don't have the information review on item 14. That's still under review. So, still looking at the numbers. So we'll just entertain a motion to approve the agenda and delete item 14 until next week.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and delete item number 14 until next week.
Second.
All right, it's been a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, second by Kiefer to amend the agenda with the deletion of item 14, the Allers and Cooney invoice. Further discussion? Those in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye.
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 Motion is approved, and the agenda is approved as amended. Item 2, public comment. Anyone like to make a comment on any item regarding the county? Anyone on the phone call-in line like to make a public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, review and action regarding the December 11th, 2023 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 11, 2023 minutes.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgens, to approve the December 11th Board of Supervisor minutes. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 4, review action regarding the approval of claims.
I looked through the claims in the county. They all look anything there. Bolton Mink still isn't providing us the information I've asked for, so I can't agree to approve the Bolton and Mink claim
That's the one he told you he wasn't able to go back
to October. This is November.
to the day you talked to him.
Told me that he couldn't recreate the billings for October. This isn't an October billing, it's November. We still don't know what we're paying for.
So your motion to approve with the exception of that, what's the number of that one?
15399.
15291.
399. 15399.
All right. Yeah, I'd hope that after you had a visit with him that you would have got that straightened out. That was what I thought was going to happen. So
Yeah, I visited with him twice.
it's not without precedence. We haven't quite got the Allers and Cooney bill straightened out, so I can understand that things happen. So
So you call him again.
Nope, I'm not gonna call him again. I talked to him twice. He doesn't follow through with what he tells me he's gonna do.
Who'd you talk to?
Tyler. He told me that he talked to all of the people in the office, explained to them what we expected. And but we still haven't got it.
Is there penalties? Don't pay that, or how's that work?
18% interest if they're not paid in 30 days. We'll see. I
So
mean,
he has in an email.
No, I forgot to look.
Something like this.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure yours,
and gold and had look at the tree. I think it was similar.
Yeah, I went downstairs this morning to get out the tote actually, and I got down there and did 2 other things, and then came upstairs without the tote.
Glad to know I'm not the only one.
Like,
who
I'm
does
not going
that.
back down there.
Excuse me, could you silence your phone? We're just feeding through onto the
While you're there.
boardroom call, so, thank you. I'll second the motion. So we have a motion by Kiefer, seconded by Keelan to approve all the claims except number 15399. Further discussion?
I guess I'd like to see Dennis get some satisfaction that he's looking for. We don't want to get all the 18% late fees, so I don't know when that clicks over for sure.
Well, it'll be,
And
next week we can talk about it again, but
yeah,
all I'm asking for is to know what we're paying, what the landowners are paying for in that district. And they're not, they don't know.
All right. Yeah, Chair recognizes Marlon Schweitzer.
On Bolton and Mink, have they give you any updates on what they have done at the ditch? Have they told you what the progress is? Have they found any tile? Have they given you a report on how many tile they found? Anything else? And if they have not, they're not doing their job. In my opinion, they need to be fired. They can't send you a decent bill. They can't not report to you what's going on. They need to be gone.
Have you had any updates from either of them regarding the progress on the project?
I have not seen anything or heard anything from them.
I drive through there occasionally and see that there's work been done.
Yeah,
Our tree's been removed and.
I guess when I said seen anything, I meant an email, but
Right.
yeah.
Do you have the payout in your contract for the work that's been completed? They've overseen.
Bolton and Mink does not have a contract, so how do you know what they're doing, what they're charging you for? That's why they need to be gone.
The attorney gave an opinion on not having a contract and
But
said
it's
it
not
was
a
a
written
contract.
contract, when it's not in writing, you can do whatever you want.
We have a drainage
And that's
district
what they're
attorney's
doing.
opinion, but it's a
So
contract.
you guys need to fire them.
The item we're discussing today is the approval of the claims. Thank you for your remarks. So we have a motion and a second to approve the claims without claim number 15399 to Bolton and Mink. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Item 5, updates on various boards and commissions and activities since the last meeting. We're actually going to talk about the open meetings law provision and later item agenda, but that's the meeting that I attended this week.
I attended the Sunshine meeting as well, and also the North Cedar Aviation Authority meeting. And I do have some new calendars for Gloria's office, the wall calendars with her in my car. I'll go get them later. Okay, and then I was supposed to attend a joint entity meeting, but it was canceled at the last minute, so that was my activity.
I attended the Sunshine meeting as well. And met with medical examiner, Dr. Schroe, and Gloria and I did. And had some other potential MEIs visiting with us too. So that rounds out what I was doing.
Thank you. Item 6, update law enforcement center courthouse project.
Well, we didn't get the ball like we were led to believe would happen last week, and it didn't, still not here. I don't have anything else. I know there's Young or Paulson been in the building last week, right?
Yes. Mine's been in the building. We have a lot of work to do yet. Bill Huey is supposed to come this week. Might be able to answer some of those questions you have that the water softener people have. Or that's what his email said, that he'd be here sometime this week to do another walkthrough. The bollard, Jason was going to follow through with the 72-hour notice the second time.
I got an email, I think you did too, Roy, from Seth. Day last week.
But it was supposed to be here last week.
Yeah. So anyway, that's, the update is there isn't much updating going on.
It'd be nice to see that bollard and get it in place and
Yeah, Roy's been waiting for it for 2 years. So that's all I have to.
All right.
So,
Item 7, review action regarding the number of medical examiner investigators for the medical examiner to appoint. And item 8 goes along with that, review and action regarding the compensation for the medical examiner and the medical examiner investigators. Jim, what's the latest on this?
well, as I said, we've been meeting with Dr. Schroed, and actually, if you remember, Mark Bethel made a recommendation of 4 MEIs would be satisfactory, and I think that would be a good number to start with. This is it's not completely new, but it's still something new that the county is doing that I think as time goes on, if we feel a need to change that up or down, I think we can make adjustments as we learn more in time. But for now, Dr. Schroed, self, and Mark Bethel's recommendation, I think, based off the number of calls we have, I think 4 MEIs would be satisfactory. Yep,
would Dr. Schroed have the final say on who is selected to be an MEI?
he will have the final say.
Okay.
Well, other than, everything has to be approved by state medical examiners and the board of supervisors.
Correct.
Okay.
I understand that there were numerous applicants.
I think he had a really nice pool to pick from. So was there 7 or
10.
10? Yeah. And he reviewed them, and actually that'll be in another 7 or 8, yeah, or 9, whatever. So yeah, he's we had a nice group of pretty well qualified people. As Dr. Schroed put it, he says we could pick more than 4, and there'd be a good pool to have there. Yeah,
These applicants need to be taking any training, Jim, or?
yes, they have to. Mark Bethel providing the training in Ankeny, and then the other training that comes up will be a cost of about $500, $499. It's a certification type of training. Originally, I personally, I was thinking, well, if we had 5, 6, 7, we could do more than 4. But then all of a sudden you have this ongoing training at $500 a person that is at the county's expense, plus meetings or travel, perhaps meetings, meals, hotels. So 4 seems like a good number to start with, especially based off of recommendations of people in the know. So
Sounds like it's moving along pretty well.
yeah, Dr. Schroed had an emergency. We're kind of working through that with him, but,
Didn't need a medical examiner, though, did you?
Yeah.
and, Mark Bethel we're gonna follow up with him, probably this afternoon we have a call in. And I'm gonna visit with him in Gloria's office and, go over some things with him too, but it's kind of on target to be ready for the end of the year.
Okay.
And that's for clarification on, do they have to be certified, not certified?
Right. It seemed a little gray
What level? Yeah.
if they had to be certified or just the, training by Mark Bethel. And so we want to follow up on that, find out for sure, but it's looking like they, from what I gather, probably got to be certified, but we want to make sure we know that.
All right, so we have several items in a row here dealing with this. So the first one is just regarding the number of medical examiner investigators for the medical examiner to appoint. And there's a recommendation for,
I would recommend for him, make the motion of work, allow the medical examiner to, appoint 4 MEIs.
Second that motion.
all right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer, to have the medical examiner appoint 4 MEIs. Further discussion. Kind of based on finances, potentially. Is that gonna be, you think that's enough to cover every case, or cover the cases? There's options. Are they all on, affiliated all with, the ambulance service? Or they're independent people that are not affiliated with, that are on that list?
Not everybody is on AMR ambulance service. Believe 3 of them probably are, yeah.
And so all those applicants, how many they are, or we're just choosing 4, but then they'll have a period of time to become accredited or get that training before the first of the year. Is that what we're?
Right, and some of them have done that on their own previously, some of them have done it recently. And the certification will, that's another thing we need to visit with Mark about, Mark Bethel. But they've all had I think it was a 1-day training in, at the medical examiner's office in Ankeny. So,
All right, is there any comments from anyone in attendance or anyone listening on the phone regarding this item, which is the number of medical examiner investigators that we are set to appoint? All right, hearing none, those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All right. Set the number 4. Item 8, which is review and action regarding compensation for medical examiner and medical examiner investigators if ready. Is that portion of this process ready to go?
it is not. We're waiting for some input on Dr. Schroep. We have a couple of options that he's reviewing, and when hope that we actually had a meeting for that purpose, and Dr. Schroep was actually called away for a different emergency to have a new life brought into the world. So he had to leave for that. Followed up, and he had a second emergency. So so we don't have that ready, but I think we can approve that, probably discuss it anyway at the next meeting.
All right, we'll do that. Moving on to agenda item 9, review and action regarding the medical examiner recommendation of appointments. So I'm assuming that that's not ready yet either.
It is,
That is?
yes.
Oh, it is, okay. All
So
right.
if you want the names of the 4 suggested is I wrote down the first names and Don Stout, Bill, help me with his last name.
Duncan.
Duncan, Marty Parcher, Martin Parcher, Eric Whipple would be the 4.
All right, could you read those names again?
Don Stout, William Duncan, Martin Parcher, and Eric Whipple.
All right.
Dennis, you had a question?
Those recommendations from Dr. Schroed,
They are.
is Dawn part of the AMR?
She's the manager.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah. She's the one that's always here.
So these recommendations are prior to board approval. How about, it says in our agenda, background checks. Is that something that's required as well?
It is. I think the state medical examiner's office goes through that process.
I wonder if it might help, like they do background checks for the EMS now, and then Eric would probably have his because he's the EMA. So it might help with, not having to do them again, or like if you teach, the Board of Education does them.
Yeah,
Save
they
you some
have
money
one
anyway,
a recent one on file.
Yeah.
It might overlap.
Mhm.
I think that would be up to the
I'll save a
state
lot of
medical
time.
examiner's office.
Yeah, exactly.
Just questioning if we got 8 or 10 names potential. I wonder if it's appropriate to appoint an AMR employee to be MEI. It's just a thought that's going through my head.
And that was discussed too, but if there is a death or something of that nature that the AMR employee is involved with, perhaps under their care, they can't go forward as an investigator in that case. So they would use another person that wasn't involved with that case.
3 of those 4 full-time AMR, and then Eric's the only one that's not.
So 3 of them are AMR.
Dawn, Marty, and Bill are all full-time AMR. Dawn runs it, Marty and Bill are full-time.
I just, some reservations about
Put a lot
that,
in
I guess.
Eric.
So I think that maybe AMR should stick to the ambulance service. Have 4 other people that are not associated with AMR to be MEIs. And not that I'm an expert in that, but it appears that
Or at least
maybe it should be,
not the full-time, there's so many of them.
I don't see that as an issue, but I'm delivering Dr. Schroed's message
Sure, I understand.
And Mark Bethel.
and Mark Bell.
Well, they're already on his medical direction, so.
What was the discussion regarding those employees with Dr. Schroed? He talked about it. He's recommending 3. So what was the discussion you had with him regarding hiring current employees of AMR?
I think he thought it would probably be a good thing since they're unseen already sometimes. Sometimes they show up and there is no resuscitation. They go through the process of pronouncing them dead or not presently, but they would as MEIs. So I don't remember him having any reservations about that. You were in these conversations, Gloria. Do you remember anything about it?
Yeah, well, and even with Mark Bethel here, said that that's not uncommon for ambulance people to be medical examiner investigators, and there are others in the state of Iowa. I will say that he had 7 names that of the 10, and so our question to him was, if the board were to say 4, who would your top 4 be? were we to say 5 or 6, because 5 or 6 has been tossed around.
It has.
And only because of the not knowing what this impact is on the budget and Mark Bethel's recommendation of 4. That's where the conversation came with Dr. Schultz, that we'll do 4 now. But if there is, he's got 5 and 6. If you, or even 7 even, if you were to do that many at a later time.
Right.
Dr. Schultz, you're referring to, has listed out 5, 6, and 7.
Did he, like when you said, because they were already on scene or whatever, but isn't that what Mark Bethel said not to do?
Mark Bethel,
Go ahead.
What I
If-
understood, I guess.
If they're on scene and
But then that'd be their call.
their call,
Yeah, so then they
I'm
shouldn't be the
saying
MEI.
he wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't be able to resuscitate.
that's the
Okay,
kind of key.
gotcha. So any,
And so a different MEI
okay,
would have to come on scene if there was resuscitation.
That's right.
gotcha. So just as long as no care is provided, then it's okay. It's not per call. Okay,
That's my understanding.
I get
yeah.
you.
And it
I
kind
just didn't want, you know what I mean?
of, it makes sense to me after going through the discussion.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'll just make, I think it's kind of top heavy to have 3 out of the 4 to be AMR employees, and I'm not questioning Dr. Schultz's decision or whatever, but from 30,000 feet, it seems to be a little top heavy for AMR. Maybe if it was 50-50 or something, but I guess that'd be up to Dr. Schultz or the board eventually, maybe. Do we approve them, right?
Right.
So, and I guess that's my last comment or suggestion.
They do probably 3 or 4 24-hour shifts a week. So.
Is the number 5th recommendation the EMR employee?
Is not.
Well, it might bring us closer to 2 and 2 instead of 3 and 1, if that's a concern we're thinking about.
Well, that's my
Or if you-
concern.
or if you wanted to reconsider your previous motion and do 5. We could wait till do the 4 and the next meeting do an additional one. Or
That's a
and
possibility
options.
too. I mean, if you think you'd rather see 5 on there, we can discuss that. We can leave it as this and change soon or in a year.
Dr. Schultz on non-emergency.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's,
We're paying AMR in the county over $400,000 now, right, for their services.
in conjunction with the city.
City and the hospital, but
Yeah,
total
yeah.
for a little $400,000.
I can say on that, I did talk to Mike Galloway about, or Jim and I had a meeting with Mike Galloway about conflict and just that issue as well, that we are paying AMR. But there's, his position was you need to treat these separately from that, and they can do both.
Right.
Just a thought.
Yeah, we had a phone conference with Mike for this purpose.
Some of us do that now, like with being city employees versus, firefighters versus, you know what I mean, different.
Yeah, Marty's application is he's AMR and city
Full-time.
employee.
Actually,
And city
he is,
full-time.
Isn't he more fire than AMR?
No, it's full-time both.
I see.
Mm-hmm. July, next year, 20 pages out for interim.
So he's a dual employee, he's a city employee and a AMR employee.
Yeah.
And one of the conflicts with that.
Well, what's the thought? Should we add another one or leave it at 4 or?
And, well, again, I think it's a little top heavy with
All right.
3 out of the 4 being AMR employees. It's-
Especially full-time, yeah.
Maybe we can visit with Dr. Strode or somebody, or, I know you've already talked to him, Jim, and this,
We talked quite a bit.
yeah.
Well, I guess one possible solution then would be just to keep the number the same and, have him refigure those top 4. If we'd like to see 2 members that are not affiliated with AMR. Either that or change the number from 4 to 5.
I think it would be important to get some people on board at this meeting if we can get that process moving. I'm very comfortable with 4 that Dr. Schroed has presented. Make the motion to follow the recommendation of the medical examiner to approve Dawn Stout. Last name of William Duncan, Martin Parcher, and Eric Whipple.
Is Erica, I mean, I know.
I always like to second motions just so we have discussions. I don't just like to see motions die just for lack of a second. So I'll second your motion, to have for further discussion. I do like the idea of having more than 3 people, 3 of the 4 people in AMR. So I do like to see a little better, little mix. So either we can go to 5 or, at least 2 and 2 is my thoughts on that. So we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded by, motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Keelan to approve the 4 recommended by Dr. Schroed. Heard from Supervisor Kiefer, heard from me. Further comments on that motion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion dies. So we're left with, if we want to appoint someone today, or have Dr. Schroed tell us who's next on the list, I guess.
Well, it would be more appropriate to decide if we're going to have 5 before we start going down the list.
That's another option. We've already moved to have 4, so we'd have to redo that motion and kind of start over.
I could say, I think that Dr. Shaw would probably prefer to do the 5 rather than change the 4 his top recommendations.
I would agree with that.
And the only thing different about that is it's a little more expensive, I assume. I mean, you know, we're in a position that we kind of would have thought to be a good position a month ago when we didn't have anyone. Whether now we're having 4 or 5 at the cost of maybe $500, I guess, and some hotel expenses, doesn't seem to be too big of a cost to me to assure that we have medical examiner investigators out there in the field, so, I'd be willing to do that.
I would agree to that if, as long as the fifth one wasn't an AMR.
Fifth was not.
That's right. That's correct.
You said there was talk about more than 5 or 6. Was this discussion just down to the finances? It's gonna cost $500 to get someone certified?
Well, the other thing is you want people going out there to maintain, if you get 6, 7, 8, with 42 calls, they're not going to have the experience in the field, which, more experience makes better MEI. And also, that's something we need to follow up on. But I think the more calls, the more cases they have. I think if you want to call it, they get points awarded perhaps, or recognition, or they know that they've been out, you know, where somebody that does nothing all year versus somebody that does 25 or 30, you know. Obviously the one that does nothing is not going to have the experience that I might be not totally on track with that, but we're still following up with some of those things.
What happens if there's more than 4 or 5, 6 people who are medical examiner investigators? How do they get to the call?
Well, if they're in an AMR,
Who's chosen?
oh, there'll be a, Dr. Sherrill will have some type of schedule that he spoke of that he hasn't made yet, but, they will, you know, they'll be on call. You'll probably have, I assume you might have, who's ever on call first and a second, you know, and I mean, anybody can get the flu last minute, you know. So, I assume that'd be how that would be structured. That would be, it's kind of his department now.
All right.
And, he'll,
All right. Trying to keep this, I'm thankful for all the discussion. I haven't been part of these negotiations, so it's interesting to me. Let's then, we need to set the number. It sounds like we're thinking more than 4. And I don't see a problem with more than 5. It was discussed. If all we're talking about there is $500 for training, we need to, first of all, if we're going to change the number that we have, we need to rescind the motion to appoint 4 medical examiners before we consider, if we want to get it done today, and I think we do.
I think we do.
I think we do. I agree with that. So is there a motion to rescind a previous approved motion setting the number of medical examiner investigators at 4?
Also move.
All right, we have a motion by Kiefer. I'll second that one, seconded by Kewen to rescind the previous motion setting a total number of medical examiner investigators at 4. I like 6. I'll make a motion to approve 6 medical examiner investigators. Is there should be any stipulation? Oh, we can talk about that when we. Do we want to set any particulars on, are they part of AMR or not? We have a current list over here. I don't know who all those people are, but you just told me that the number 5th one isn't.
Correct.
And so is the number 6 person?
Well, honestly, I thought we would, go with the 4, and I wrote down the 5th one for just in case. You have the 6th one?
Well, he said they were either one, the 6th and 7th were either one.
I was
One of
old.
them is an AMR employee.
Okay.
But so if we don't have an AMR, so if we had 6, we had 3 and 3. 3 AMR employees and 3 not. That makes sense to me.
We would say though that Dr. or Mark Bethel has been this part about the hours of service that you do. I believe it's part of the continuing education certification.
It is.
I was just looking out, what's that?
And so you are taken away from those hours then that those people can have
Mhm.
to count towards that.
Understood. I think that's kind of outweighed by having a broader field, and I think there are some other people that are on that list that probably might add a lot to it, other than just the ones that are considered, so.
Who's weak is
And he also does recommend, that at some point you can get that deputy medical examiner in there also.
Hopefully within a year or less.
Yeah. So of the 42 number that Jim mentioned, 26 of those were autopsies.
Mhm.
And so you're spreading that number of 20, average over 3 years, 26 autopsies among 6 people. And doing that, I think that's where Jim's coming from, and what Mark Bethel was saying is, do you want to spread them that thin?
Right.
I understand that point. I'm very pleased we've got a field. I think that field is quite qualified, and we'll find out. Dr. Schroet will determine when he sets his priorities, who he's gonna choose from. And probably have different qualifications. So, let's see. Of the 3 we have now,
Well,
of the 4, 1 was non-AMR,
right.
and 5 and 6 are not AMR. So we've got,
I can honestly say I didn't write down number 6.
I have it.
You got it? Okay.
who is?
Number 6,
Mhm.
so you want number 5?
Sure.
So number 5 is Joanne
Right.
Robinson.
All right.
Number 6 and 7 are Bryce Ham and Jordan
Smith.
I didn't write the last name down. I didn't.
Look, I don't know language.
Expected abuse 6 and 7.
Chloe's like,
Jordan Van Horn. Jordan Van Horn.
I thought it was covered with writing down the 5th one.
So that's 3-3.
Those last 2 are not AMR people, right?
Jordan is AMR.
Bryce is not.
Yes. Jordan, we worked with the Gordo Medical Examiner's office, but Mark.
But he's part-time versus full-time. I don't know how much call he takes, but
Well, they're looking for no AMR, no more AMRs.
yeah, I know, I get that, but 2 shifts versus 40 a month,
Where's your motion at?
Well, it hasn't been made yet. I was just halfway into it. I was moving to make an appointment of 6 people and deciding if there was a consensus of the board, whether there should be certain number AMR and certain non-AMR, or just have 6.
Can I ask, I don't.
Excuse me?
We did.
Hello?
It was 3-0, or I missed that.
No.
For what?
The motion to rescind the previous motion.
That hasn't been,
I don't think you closed that
we
motion.
didn't close that motion.
Yeah, we have.
Ex-
AMR.
So before you
We
make
have a
another
motion
motion.
and a second.
Yeah, yes.
Moved by-
Gloria?
Second by me.
For the purpose of,
Joanne's trying to hire you, Gloria.
Okay.
I-
Great.
I've had my hand up
This
for a
is
little
just
while.
But we're, just a minute there, Joanne, we're clarifying where we're at procedurally.
I know I want to help you out with that.
Oh, okay.
I have sent you a
Auditor
note.
Carl will help us first. So.
I am withdrawing my name.
She's withdrawing. All right. Okay. But where we are procedurally with,
I had the motion that Kiefer made to rescind the previous motion to allow Dr. Schroed to appoint the medical examiner investigator, and that you seconded it, but I don't have that you took any action on it.
that was the 4.
To the previous motion to allow Dr. Schroed to appoint 4 medical
Okay.
examiner investigators.
All right, so we haven't acted on that.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so.
well then, is there further discussion on that motion now that it's been clarified what's on the floor?
Could you restate the motion?
Yes, the motion is to move by Kiefer, seconded by Keelan, to rescind the number of medical examiners appointed by 4. Rescind that motion.
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Those in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. How you go?
Opposed.
Okay,
I
So-
had these before.
all right, sorry. So that one, we've got, Kiefer and Keelan voting to rescind it. Jorgensen voting against it. So now we're back on how many, medical examiners to appoint. We're not appointing 4. In the meantime, Joanne Robinson sought the floor, and you were telling us you're withdrawing your name from consideration. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. All right. So, whatever position she was in, I'm not sure.
She was 5th.
She was 5.
She was 5. All right. So now we're back to how many medical examiners would you like to appoint? Investigators.
I'm gonna suggest 5. I really like the number 4 to keep the people in the field and keep them active and tuned, contribute to their certification processes. I think for now, maybe we'll find out later that we need 8, but I would, I'd be very happy with 5 instead of 6.
All right, then, I'll make a motion then, understanding that, to approve 5 medical examiner investigators with 2 of them being non-AMR employees.
Second.
All right. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion for 5 medical examiner investigators with 2 non-AMR employees, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion is carried. So now we're back on setting the names of 5 medical examiner investigators.
What's your number to get the rest of the list?
I'll make the motion to approve Dawn Stout, William Duncan, Martin Archer, Eric Whipple, and Bryce
Ham.
Ham.
A second.
All right. Have a motion by Supervisor Jordan, seconded by Kiefer to approve those 5 medical examiner investigators that were named, of which 2 are non-AMR employees.
That's correct.
There further discussion? Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. Sometimes you learn a little more after you pass the first motion. It's all right. It's all good. Thank you. So at the next meeting, we'll seek to determine the compensation for the ME and the MEIs. All right. Item 10, review action regarding Drainage District number 3, open ditch pay app number 2. All right, I'm pulling that one up on the computer screen. Where is that? Mhm.
Tyler is on as
Oh,
well.
he is.
No.
All right,
But you can maybe ask him about your claims as
all
well.
right, Tyler, we're looking at, pay app number 2. I'm trying to pull it up here. Well, that's the one we denied. What is pay app number 2?
Work order 1767.
In your packet,
Okay,
I can find a page for you.
yes.
Good morning, all. I could,
Yeah, good morning, Tyler. We're trying to
I
find
could,
the pay app here.
yeah, I could explain the pay application number 2 is the second invoice that has been submitted by Larson Contracting for the work on the Drainage District 3 repair project. This is a continuation of their tree clearing, additional quantities for that, as well as for, I believe there was a little bit of mobilization as well that they were warranted to receive as part of the project. No change orders or increase, decrease in quantities, just essentially continuing as normal, as planned, and just paying the guys for what they got done this last month. So
Page 4 of your agenda packet. You've got your agenda.
That's the letter from college, right?
And then page 5.
Yep.
Where is
Five.
that? When did you send that?
Page
That was
4.
sent on Friday.
Um,
You have your agenda packet?
I'm looking for it.
November 30th, 2023, pay request.
December.
Number what?
It says November.
The agenda packet that I emailed on Saturday. Y'all don't have that?
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
I got 2 things on Saturday. I got the minutes and then I got this message.
Yeah, that's all I got too.
That's your agenda packet.
Okay,
It's page 4.
all right. Then I have it.
Page 4 is a letter from Bolton, Maine.
All right,
Page 5, it's part of the whole package that he sent, page 5 and page 6, 4, 5, and 6. So the letter's dated November 30th, because he sent it, but then it goes to Larson's for signature, and we just got it back from Larson's last week. That's why it doesn't come to you until Tyler's approved it and Larson has approved it.
Okay.
all right, so we're looking at a payoff of
40,000.
$40,500. All right, I'm there now. The details, what's described for the 77,500. Open ditch excavation, spoil bank leveling, things you might be interested in here, what's been done.
Yeah, that's on page 6, yeah.
the only work that has been paid or is being paid work that they have completed, which is at the time of the invoice was 42% of the tree clearing. I think it was actually maybe would have been that's a conservatively low amount of what they've got done, and it was 50% of their mobilization. So essentially, they were in with their equipment. That is the quantities that are being paid and are as part of the pay application. As far as any excavation or leveling quantities, because that work has not been yet done, they have not requested any, nor would we have approved any payment for it.
Okay.
Yes, Merlin.
Mobilization fees, was that to get there, or do they have a mobilization fee after they got here? Because all they've done is gone from one driveway to the other across the road. They have not mowed, they have not.
Tyler, did you hear that?
I did not. I heard there was a question. I was not able to make out what it was.
Mobilization, typically to what it is to get here from another spot. But is that, what does the mobilization in the payout cover? I guess.
Mobilization as part of the project is it's as a whole. It's not for traversal along the project. It's for the moving in and moving out of their equipment. So the specifications state that after I believe it's 10% of the project dollars are paid, the contractor is entitled to 50% of their mobilization as it was bid. All the contractors had a mobilization item, it's a lump sum for what they could get in to do the work for, move their equipment in for. Every contractor had a base amount that they bid in that project. So because 10% of the total contract dollars has been done, even though it was just in tree clearing that they got to that dollar amount, they were entitled under the specifications that the contract is based on, they were entitled to that mobilization.
And that total amount is $15,000.
Half of it is 15.
Half of it is 15, right?
Right. Their bid on mobilization was for the whole project was 30,000.
Got it. Any other questions, comments regarding the payout?
Nope.
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the payout number 2 for Drainage District number 3.
I'll second.
All right, then moved by Supervisor Kiefer, second by Jorgensen, approve Drainage District number 3, open ditch pay app number 2 in the amount of
$40,500.
$42,500.
$40,500.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item 11, review action Drainage District number 3.
Before you
Maybe-
go on to that, Mark, could
Yeah.
you address the invoice
No,
so Tyler knows?
that's not what we're talking about here. Dennis has already
I
talked
just
to
thought
us about
since he
that.
was on the phone.
That's another issue and we're past that one. Supervisor Kiefer will talk to him again about that. We're moving on to item number 12. Excuse me, number 11, review action regarding Drainage District number 3, main tile assessment for secondary road work. Engineers were contacted to look at Drainage District 3 and 13. They've attached 2 spots in Drainage District 3 that need repair. That's the first one on our agenda.
$800.
They've amount claims $820.39.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
What you're doing is your assessment. You need to do an assessment for it.
All right? Yes, we do.
So there's nothing in, the main tile. So your claim is the $800, but there's zero in the fund. So a lot of times you'll, assess for something so that there's a fund balance in there in case there is a future small claim to cover.
Right.
I would suggest maybe you assess this one, maybe 1,500, 2,000, something like that. There's some money in the fund. And then there wouldn't be anyone over $500. So there wouldn't be any stamped warrant option for this repair. Or I mean, waivers, I mean, not stamped warrant. It will be paid by stamped warrant, but there won't be any waivers. Because nobody will have a $500 bill.
Right.
If you wanted to include that in your motion, you could, that's up to you.
Chair recognizes Maroon Schweitzer.
So who's paying for this fixing of this tile? The whole district or the people on that line?
This is a main, the fix was on the main tile, not the open ditch, but the main. So everybody that's in, everybody is going to pay that has that benefit on the main. So I think you've got the schedule. So if you were to look at the main, not the main open ditch, but the main, everybody that,
I understand what
Yeah,
you're saying, that the main tile is not going there.
I don't know what your question is. The schedule that was approved by the Board of Supervisors for the main tile, those are the people that pay.
But the tile they fixed on this District 3 is not the main tile.
That's what the engineer's office reported, that it was a main tile that was
I mean, the
broken.
main tile that went back.
No. It's a main tile right here that you have in your packet.
Uh-huh.
And this would be like where the on T38, Lancer Avenue, where the hog confinement is, on the north side of the railroad tracks. But it is a main tile.
But it's not the main tile that went to the west. That one goes north.
This is still the main.
But
It is
it's
not a
supposed-
lateral.
If we assessed all that stuff, reclassified it, the people on that main are supposed to pay for it, not everybody else.
The people on that main will pay for it because it's not a lateral.
I'd have to look at the map, but I'm sure it's not the main tile.
I don't know if anybody from secondary roads could come down and explain it, or from the engineer's office. We specifically asked them, is it a lateral, is it a main, and they said it was the main tile, not the open ditch area, but the main.
What we pay for is the big main that goes into the ditch.
That is the
Everything that
one.
comes off that's a lateral. And the people on that lateral pay for that. That's why I was reclassed.
Well, we have a question. Let's, I don't know which one it is, or the main tile or the main. Let's find out before we ask people to pay for it.
I don't know if phone to call to the engineer's office, because one of you use your cell phone to call them.
Their number,
You gonna call Jim?
sure.
I think 257-6100 would get you there.
And it's Jim Jorgensen in the supervisor's office. We're having a meeting and wondering if anybody's in the office that could come down to the boardroom and explain drainage district number 13 main tile assessment for secondary road repair.
Number 3.
Or, excuse me, number 3.
Well, both
not-
of them actually.
Yeah,
Actually, I think I have it right here. Here's the
yeah,
map.
is Jacob? Okay, thank you. Bye.
Here's the map.
Jacob's on his way.
The repair line, from what he has on his map, was right in here, and that is the main.
Here's where it shows it on the information that was provided to you. Um,
This little arrow is where it was. Okay, that's it.
he just has that. He's got what they charged for in your packet.
How you doing? Hi, good morning, Jacob. There's questions on whether this repair that was done in Drainage District 3 is on the main line, and if so, understood why it should be shared by all the people in the district. But Merlin has indicated he thinks it's on a lateral, not the main line. So that's why you're brought down to determine where this was.
Based on the information I have, is that it was on the main. That's what Tim had when he was out there looking at it. So, so what? I'd have to look and see if we got a note on it or not. I'm not 100% certain. I can call and get more information if I need to as well. I don't have a note on how big it was, but he has all the drainage maps, so he knows how to look. Here you go. Oh, that's fabric.
They take pictures of it, will be fixed.
I'd have to ask him for the pictures. But he has the drainage maps and he said it was the main, so.
He said it was the main.
Yep, Tim did when he was out repairing it, so. Yeah, that's our normal process. Tim goes out and looks at it. He identifies what tile it is and repairs it. So. I guess I don't know what other explanation I can give you. That's the normal process. I think that's what any contractor would do as well.
No, it's on the main. Till somebody tells us it's not, I guess. Pay the bill, I'll look it up and I'll see, make sure it's on the main.
Just has it marked on this map, on just an aerial, and he uses the drainage maps when he goes out and looks at it. I don't think there's been a problem of misidentifying which tile they're working on previously that I'm aware of, so. Yeah.
All right. Yes, Supervisor Keeper.
I think if I remember, Gloria, there's not enough money in the district to pay for that repair.
There's no money in the main tile fund.
Okay. So part of the motion have to include putting $2,000 what you recommended.
Whatever, 1,500 or 2,000, whatever you recommend to have some. That's entirely up to you.
I'll make a
Here's,
motion.
I can show you, I found a map of just the main as well. I don't know if you want to come around and look at this. Here's the railroad track, here's the main, and his picture shows it's happening somewhere in here.
There says access right there, which
Yeah.
would be
Right, yeah, it's that shadow that you can see,
this
that'd be
here.
that main
That's
right
the-
there.
That's the main line. Oh, that's the one that goes to the back door.
That's the
So
request.
those are nice. You can actually see them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the main. All right.
I'll see if I can do this correctly. Make a motion to approve the Drainage District 3 main tom assessment and deposit $2,000 into the Drainage District's fund to pay for it.
assess,
Assess
we're gonna assess the property owners $2,000.
$2,000.
Jesse's gonna issue a stamped warrant to pay for it, and then when the assessment's collected, she'll have, that's gonna, your stamp warrants are getting 5% interest on it. So that's the other reason you have to have more money in there is to cover the stamp warrant when the property owners pay it.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Kiefer, seconded by Jorgensen, to assess the main line of Drainage District 3 for $2,000 for repairs to the main line. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Now we're on the repairs in Drainage District 13. And, repair holes over the main line in Drainage District 13. A total of $908.10 was the charge to take care of that. The location of that is north of 250th Street, just a little bit south of Marble Rock, I should say. Is there any money in that fund?
There is $612.84, so not enough to cover it. Again, I'd say probably like 1,000 or 1,500. That one. Do 1,000, it would cover another small repair that size, but not much more than that.
I'll make a motion to assess Drainage District number 13 in the amount of $1,500. Tile assessment.
Second.
All right, let's have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Supervisor Kiefer, to assess the main line of Drainage District 13 for $1,500?
Yes.
$1,500 for a repair to the Drainage District 13 main line. Here it is. Okay. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion is carried. All right. Item 13. Review action regarding liquor license renewal for Wright's Auction Company.
Have a good one.
Is everything in order with the application?
So this one, as I mentioned to Mark when we were doing agenda items, I said I would contact Scott to see if he knew the status of the drama insurance. And he said that, he was gonna call, and he said he was gonna call me back, but I didn't get any call back from him. But he does have events the first part of January. And so I would request that you would approve this one rather than wait until next Monday, because I'm expecting that drama insurance to come through this week. And then he will I just wanna make sure he timely gets his liquor license, because they're supposed to post that where they're selling the alcohol. And so your motion could be to approve it pending drama insurance.
It happens often, too often for me, but that's the way it works. They don't get the paperwork done, they don't get it done, and they have an event and we have to approve it pending this. It's kind of typical, but
He had his paperwork done very early, but what happens a lot of times is the drama insurance companies wait until closer to the expiration of the license of their insurance. That seems to be the case with this one.
we had a special meeting earlier this year just to approve someone's liquor license because it's kind of should we go to the city, should we go to the county? This happens occasionally, so I understand.
So make a motion to approve the liquor license for Rates Auction Company LLC pending proof of drama insurance.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Supervisor Jorgensen, seconded by Kiefer to approve the liquor license application for Wright's Auction Company LLC, providing proof of drawn insurance. Further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving on to discussion regarding the Sunshine Laws presentation and initiatives to enhance compliance. I thought we had a really good meeting. I was very pleased. We had attendance from county and city government, hospital board. There was a lot of people from some of our boards and commissions there that asked questions. Erica thought it was a good meeting. I certainly learned a few things.
Very thorough.
She did a good job.
All right. We discussed some things that I wasn't even aware of. The recent advisory opinion regarding minutes was interesting, so I did copy that off. And here's a copy of their advisory meeting regarding editing meeting minutes before publishing. You can pass one down to Articar. It's rather thorough on that. You can read that at your leisure. That was something I talked about at the meeting that day.
I got two.
Okay, just need an extra copy again.
Good.
So how do you follow up with this stuff? How do we make sure that we continue to stay on track, or we ensure that we're meeting the open meeting requirement? After the meeting, I had a call with the executive director of the Iowa Freedom of Information Council, Randy Evans. And Randy Evans and his organization published this document. And this is a little handy little summary of all the things in rules in chapter 21 and 22. Now this one is the 14th edition. It was published in 2011. And so they do continue to update it. And so I asked Randy, well, what do those cost? And he said, if you buy them in bulk, he could send them, we could purchase them for $2 a copy. And one of the suggestions I have is to buy any number we come up with. I'm sure we could get 50 easily handed out to all the people who hold elective office, the people who are the chairs, and advisory to all of our boards and commissions, so that's one suggestion that, and you put a number on it, how many we might have, but I would think just having a handy reference book to follow up on and kind of refresh anyone when they have a question about that would be a good thing to do. So that's one suggestion I have. $2 a copy, I think that's pretty reasonable, and you have the latest version of the book. Yeah.
I attend some meetings where they, on their agenda, they have a consent agenda.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I follow what that is exactly. I mean, they always approve it, but I'm not sure the purpose of it, what the purpose of it.
Well, as I understand it, it's a consent agenda, meaning that you consent to it, the board or the council, sometimes the city council's consent to approval of those items without discussion, unless there's something that's not on the consent agenda. Typically, it's nothing we've ever done on the supervisor's level. Might not be the best description, but I think that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
It's like minutes, payroll stuff, that are recurring stuff that they don't.
So it kind of shortens the agenda a little bit, right? Okay.
I don't remember if that the previous supervisors wrote the consent agenda in there, but never engaged it, probably for the same reasons. They wanted to have time to review and act on individually on items rather than do the consent. I don't remember if we kept that in there, Mark, or not, when you rewrote that.
We've never used it that I can recall ever having a consent agenda actually in place.
But did we take it out? I don't remember if we took it out, if you took it out of there.
You know, I was just curious. I don't feel we need to do it, but it's one of the differences I've noticed on some of the agendas of their boards or so.
Any comments on this idea?
Wouldn't hurt anything.
I'm
Be fine.
favor of it.
Yeah.
All right, good. We can, how many, Auditor Carr, how many do you think we could, distribute?
Or are you talking like boards with mayors and
Primarily just county
911?
affiliated things, but it's any reach that we have certainly.
So if you did ones that you appoint, you would have your, probably, what was that number? So I'm just gonna rattle some of these boards off then. And Area Development Corp, you appoint
They're
a supervisor and
they're
three
not-
others.
They're not subject in the sense that we are. They don't have, they're a private corporation. So they're not quite subject to that. So it wouldn't be so valuable to them because they're not held by that.
So the Assessors Examining Board, you appoint well, the Conference Board appoints them, you don't appoint them. Know who they are here and on the list. Want Mark Hugel is the one who's appointed to the Assessors Examining Board. Jerry Schaefer is the city's appointment and Jerry Yeager is the school's appointment.
Well, I was just thinking, why don't you, might take a while, we probably have to go through the whole email list to find out, why don't you just give us a number of like, and I don't know if every member of the board has to have one, they could.
I think the chair would be.
But the chair, for instance, Board of Health, certainly the people that set the agendas should be aware of it. So how about in that case, like, Dr. Kepler and, Gail Artis. You know, they're like two.
Oh, so not the whole board, you're just
We
talking.
could, you could, or not
Oh,
necessarily.
you said 50 for a number, so I was thinking a
Yeah.
bit more than that.
I'm just thinking numbers, certainly all the elected officials.
So like compensation board, do you want anybody to have it on compensation board?
Certainly, yeah. Good idea. Yeah, I'm not trying to be exclusive, right? I want to be inclusive, right? I think $2 a copy, I think we're gonna be well served and, they're gonna answer a lot of the questions that they might have.
That's 7 there. Civil Service Commission, you appoint Harry White and Kathy Herrick. You appoint 2, and then the attorneys appoint another person for Civil Service Commission.
Yes,
What about the drainage districts that have their own trustees? They meet occasionally, right?
mhm.
Are they county?
They're not appointed by,
Yeah.
they're their own government, like
So
a city
private.
or a school or a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we just, determine what a number is instead of trying to do it at the table today? And then we work on that and give us some parameters of how much of that to be.
And I can tell you, when you do a letter for someone who's been appointed, I give them, not the book, but I give them, every appointee gets the open meetings, chapter 21 and open records 22, everybody gets that. And I do the same with anybody that's elected. They'll get it. Like Dr. Kapler should, of all those appointed, should already have it. Hard copy. Zoning gets it, and Jen puts it in their book as well, not that, but
Right.
so all these appointees get it, and, you know, a form like this.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. And yet, past practice being what it is, I think this, the purpose of the medium was to, help everyone understand it. And, it's just a review is a good thing, and this is a real easy thing. Just the other day, you know, we had some questions on the Board of Health. How do I go in a closed session? And they didn't seem to know. And I know that they've gotten it before in the past, but they didn't have that correct. So, just fairly inexpensive means of
Reference guy.
yeah. So give us some numbers, a little, you know.
So I'll give you the list, you tell me which ones you want them to go to.
Could
just
you do
mark
that
on
at
there.
another time?
Yeah.
I would appreciate that,
Yeah.
because we want to move on to another item, but if you would,
I'll
instead
email
of
the
going
list to you
through
right
them
now.
all right now, if you just get back to us with that, and we can suggest, perhaps I can work a better deal if this gets more than 50, but, actually Randy Evans was really quite thrilled with the fact, he said, well, you've got a local government that's actually requesting this. And so I said, yeah, it's a priority of this board, openness and transparency, and it's something that we want to follow up on. So, I think for the cost, I think it's a good reminder. The other thing that, a couple other things that I started working on, you know, we send these emails out of the board itself. And I've seen some emails, I brought it up at the meeting, that have a little, notation, a little reminder, notice that, any communication or response, any recipient who receives this email or any response to you, is a matter of open records. And there's a little disclaimer letting anyone that you're emailing know that, yeah, this could be a request for an open meeting request. It's just kind of a tagline. And so I'm waiting to hear back from the school. This is where I got it. And I sent information to them last week regarding that. They're going to send me a little tagline. I'm just going to suggest that, at least on our email, that's something that we include.
That's something that would show up all the time.
It would show up, like, you know, in other cars, you have something regarding don't print the paper or something because you're concerned about the environment. Is it something on yours? This
Yeah,
would be
it's
just
just
more
in
of a
your
description
signature
regarding
line.
the requirements, of the open meeting law.
Would that be something our IT guy would put on our?
Sure. No.
If you build it, just, well, he could do it, or you could do it, you could just build it in your signature line. Or,
Yeah, I'll have him do it because I sure can.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's kind of a constant reminder to anybody who sends us emails that, you know, this is public record and it's subject to these laws and, you know. So that's another thought that, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. They haven't sent me back. I made that request last week, so, their IT person was gonna get in today, so we'll take a look at that. That's kind of what I had. The other thing I did pick up during the presentation was that if two or more of us go to a meeting, it'd be a best practice to notify that we're going. Not that we're having a meeting, because we're not deliberating. But, for instance, we all three attended the Board of Health meeting regarding employee and at one point in time, at the meeting in November it was. And so that was one of the presentations. There was this notice that if more than one or majority of the supervisors attend, we should kind of make note of that.
Where do you make note of that?
I suppose, what was said about that?
I don't know if she went into that, where the,
Yeah, how do you note that? You just note that we're gonna be going somewhere, or do we know that? I don't know. You recall that?
Yep.
It's something about a notice, we can look that up too. I was surprised how many, there was a couple of individuals asked a lot of questions about the Board of Supervisors on our behalf. You know, can they do this, can they do that? So it's a topic that is pretty important to people. They see us, you know, places or something, and it's just, you know, it takes a certain amount of effort. That's all. That's all I'm trying to do is just enhance that we're very aware of it. I think we are. So. Auditor Carr, is anything you had to add about that meeting or anything that stood out to you?
did, and it was, on open records, the fees that you can charge was of interest to me.
Yeah, that was an interesting discussion.
So I think that's probably going to be something that would be good to talk about at a department head meeting, so that all of the departments are on the same page, and maybe the board implements a policy on, you know, that what the departments can charge for open records.
Requested by the public.
Anyway,
Yeah, well, yeah, and what even qualifies, is there a difference between a freedom of information? And this wasn't really talked about there, we talked about it in my office afterwards, but, you know, say somebody has a freedom of information request. That, you know, I think she said the first 30 minutes, that, did she say in October last year that passed, the first 30 minutes you shouldn't be charging, and after that you could only charge your costs, such as, you know, cost, you know, 6 cents or 5 cents or whatever to run a page on your copy machine. So your actual cost would be that and your piece of paper, but that you can't do, you know, we're paying a lot of money in contracts for copy machines, but you can't charge any of that, because I was thinking, oh, we're fine, we need 50 cents. We're fine, and I think that's standard what a lot of them do is a per page fee. That's, I think most of the departments are 50 cents, I'm not sure. But there's that versus if someone, if it's not a freedom of information request and somebody wants, you know, it's not a claims or minutes or anything like that. If it's just somebody wants a copy of something, it comes in and says, hey, can you make a copy of this for me? We charge 50 cents for that. it's not our information, it's their document, they're just asking for a copy. So I think that might be something that we could talk about in a department head on those types of things, if it's a public record that they're asking for versus just I want a copy of, here's a document, I have a blank copy of it. Maybe, I don't know who the next supervisor is going to be, but if that could be brought up at, or next chair is going to be, but if that can be brought up at the next February department meeting. Or earlier, if you want it brought up earlier.
Anything else for you now?
I know.
Okay. All right, item 16, discussion regarding review of the county credit card policy. And, you know, this has come up several times this year. And oftentimes regarding the sales tax issue, not charging it or not, for whatever reason, and there have been a lot of them, where we talk about improper use of credit cards. And so in your packet, there's the credit card and charge account policy. And talks about what we are allowing in this policy. Now, this was dated back in 16. Overall guidelines for issuance and usage of credit cards. Department heads may implement more restrictive policies, but may not adopt any that are less restrictive. And so this is kind of what we've used it on during the discussion when these things have come up. I've had, if you recall, we had employees that told us they're not aware of it. And some have suggested that we should put this in the employee handbook as well. I guess that's up for discussion. One, shall we be worried about sales tax? It comes up frequently for whatever reason. It's an error or somebody is someplace where something is charged doesn't have our records. And you've been involved in enough times to know kind of how that works. So that's the general discussion. Hopefully we're trying to bring some finality to this discussion about credit card usage. Should the credit card holder be allowed to give their credit card to someone else on their staff? Go make a charge. That has come up. These are the things we're kind of discussing today. Yes, Dennis.
Regarding sales tax, the counties are not legally obligated to pay sales tax, is that correct?
Except for meal reimbursements and hotel lodging.
Okay. If they go to Ace Hardware, John goes over there and buys supplies, he doesn't need to pay sales tax, right?
We have a tax exempt account.
Okay.
And that's what is lacking, that some of the departments aren't doing the tax exempt. But Elizabeth from Gardner and Company has said to me before that it is an inappropriate use of taxpayer money to pay sales tax.
It's also not mandated, right? I mean, it's just,
No, the only thing are the meals in the hotel.
So is it safe to say we don't want to pay sales tax?
Right.
We should have a policy not paying sales tax?
right?
I would agree with
Okay, yeah. I know sometimes it talks about a few cents, but sometimes it talks about a lot of money. So, you know, it's important. Let's just start there. All right. Okay, then let's look at this policy as it reads now. Maximum credit limit for each department shall not exceed $3,000. Sound reasonable? Credit American cards or charge cards shall not carry an annual fee.
So how do you do that? Do you have American Express in?
No, we have our business account with the bank that doesn't have a fee.
Okay.
That sound good, Dave?
Yeah,
How about B, each department head will be responsible for distributing county credit cards to employees as needed and will assume responsibility for those employees' expenditures as well. For accountability and record-keeping purposes, department heads shall provide the auditor's office with credit card and charge card information, including the number of cards issued to a department and all pertinent information for each card, such as bank, card number, expiration date. So are we opening up to an unlimited number of credit cards? Just has to be approved. Because we're saying the department head will be responsible for distributing credit cards. How many do we want to have?
I would think one per department would be sufficient.
Who applies for the credit card? Say the auditor's office wants a credit card. Do you apply for it or does the board of supervisors apply?
So the policy has been that the chair of the board of supervisors can authorize $3,000. We've had situations, well, like with our blinds, you authorize to do up to, we had a situation maybe when Bob Lincoln was an employee that we bumped it up for a time period. Maybe engineers office, maybe it's been bumped up at one time or other. But I will say that when I've been here a lot of years, but the previous bank cards that we had, they just had like Floyd County Auditor on it. It didn't have any name, just said Floyd County Auditor. And there was a disclaimer page that the employees would sign saying, I'm responsible for this card and you know, if I authorize someone else to use it, I'm responsible for this card. When we switched a few years ago to this, still same bank, but they tightened up their policies and said only the card holder with the name on it, their name on it, should be using a card. And so that's now, the card says Floyd County Auditor Gloria Card. And a representative from the account that we have now came to a board of supervisors meeting during your time or not, when we switched to this, I'm not sure, Mark. But he said, if they don't encourage us to let anybody else use the cards that have our name on them. And they say, if someone else needs to have a card, you authorize them to have a card. But I'm not comfortable with saying, oh, I want Amanda to have one, or Lexi does a lot of the charges, you know, supplies and stuff in our office, and I'm not comfortable with saying, oh, I want Lexi to have a card. And so Lexi uses my card if it's something that we can't pay for through an invoice. My preference is, I think the cards get used excessively for charges that could be done with a simple invoice. And I think that's even in here as well. But it's just gotten easy to use the credit card.
What bank do we use?
The First Secured Citizens Bank is the administrator of fees accounts.
For citizens.
For citizens, yeah. Yes. And it's worked well. I just don't think most department heads would say, okay, well, I'll use like Amy. Well, that's kind of a different situation anyway, but it's saying, I want to get, if Amy says, I want to get a card so that, you know, employee can use that when they're down at training. I don't think we want to be issuing a bunch of cards or anything like that. That's why we offer reimbursements for those types of expenses. And even like that with hotels, typically you can, if my employees are going down for training, the hotel will give you a pre-authorization form that you can authorize when they get there to use it for whatever services you're allowing, and it's always just the room, not any meals, not any, or room service or movies on the TV or anything like that.
So when the sheriff's office or the LEC goes out and buys $2,000 or $3,000 worth of groceries for the LEC, do they put that on a credit card?
On a Fairway account.
Fairway account?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But like, I'll say John, for example, when he's mowing lawn, or he's got to fuel up his county pickup, he'll just come up, ask me to get the card, give him the card, and he runs over to Quick Start and fuels him up and uses my card at the pump. And so that you could say is an illegal use of it, or not an appropriate use of it. You go to jail for it, but maybe not an appropriate use for it. But I don't want to give John a credit card either. I don't think that's necessary.
But in that particular case, is there another way that he can get gas other than using a credit card?
We could set up an account with Quick Start and authorize people. It's just like we have accounts at Tyson's. And I have John and Cody and myself authorized at Tyson's to use an account there.
And those charges will show up on the claims weekly.
Not on the Visa claims,
No,
those
but
will show on Tyson's account.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they're still reviewable.
Yeah, so the Visa account is the one that you've been seeing all these issues with.
Right.
Because, like say Tyson's, Ace, we've got accounts built that are non-exempt accounts, but when you're ordering online, what's happening is even like with the blinds, that company said, we'll reimburse you sales tax, but we won't let you file an exempt account. So you guys said I could go ahead and charge that, and then we filed and got our reimbursement for the sales tax, which seems like that's a lot more work for him to do than to set up an exempt account to begin with. That particular one didn't allow an exempt account to be set up.
So if we're trying to kind of make it standardized, perhaps clear it up, clarify it, tighten it up, if you will. How about one card per department head or elected official? And the rest of it done in another way.
That's basically what we have with the Visa account.
That's not what this says.
Yeah,
This policy says that, they can set up multiple ones, so we're trying to, set this policy so there's no doubt about what it is we're allowing. I'm just trying to suggest ways to change this initially,
yeah.
have a discussion about that. So if we did that and then authorize certain places where some of these vendors that you talked about, they have an account there that they don't need to charge it, so that takes away the need to have a card. Trying to limit the number of cards that are floating around out there too. Just more of them out there causes more trouble.
A lot of charged accounts out there, not necessarily a physical Visa or card or anything like that.
How about if we wrote this so there's just one per department or elected official?
I don't want
Okay, so this is a credit card and charge account policy. So
Right.
you're not suggesting that we close Tyson's account, we close that, so,
No. No, we can keep those open, so in those cases that you referred to, and allows for kind of normal transactions to occur on a day-to-day basis, and disrupt anybody, but yet restricts the number of cards that are for people other than who the card is authorized to using that card. I guess that's as much as what I'm getting into. But, there are examples of all these things, When the recorder went to Des Moines, they borrowed her card and they used the card for the meals. So if we change that policy that you can't have it, can't do that, you can't do that. You go through the process of just filing a claim for your meal at a meeting.
Expense report or whatever.
Yeah. That's easy to do. You don't have that. I don't see that.
So if you, these charge accounts that Tyson's and Ace that the county has, when they send us a bill, they don't charge sales tax on any of those. They have our number or whatever.
It advertises that number.
Okay.
Yep. And those, they all have authorized people, like we have, Menards, we have account with Menards, with John, Cody, and myself, and Tyson's, John, Cody, and myself, and Ace, John, Cody, and myself. But those are charge accounts, so you're talking about the landmark in
Yes.
there. I can see where there's, that first sentence doesn't make sense.
Right.
Come about under objectives,
Procedures.
procedures.
So we could change that language, just have one.
But so in there, but what, and so I totally agree on the credit card side of it. There shouldn't be a need for more than one. But on the charge account side of it, do you have issues with the department head authorizing people on a charge?
Like having Amanda be in Tyson's or
Yeah,
Ace Hardware or
John and Cody.
John and Cody.
It's a policy for both, but that first sentence, I get one credit card, but not one charge account, because there's sense to have it.
Anybody can take your credit card and go over and use it, where if you only put one person on the charge account.
Well, technically, no.
I know technically.
Maybe
It's actually not illegal, but it's, you have to have permission.
Maybe we should make the procedure into two things, one the credit card policy and then the other is a charge account, instead of having them as.
Trying to mingle it together.
Put it
Can be
together.
kind of confusing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because break that up and identify, a certain number of employees in a certain number of locations. But that has to be specific. At some point in time, we're gonna get on to the next one, is, the employees who are designated in that manner need to understand that policy, and they have to sign something. That kind of makes sense. We're just discussing some changes to this. So that would be number C, before receiving and or using a county credit card or charge account. You see, we've kind of got those two in there at once. Separate those out. The employees must sign agreement. That makes sense. I don't know if that needs to be in the handbook though. See, people have said that I didn't know what this was because it's not in the handbook. And I wasn't notified. I don't know, does it have to be in the handbook too, or do we just have a policy for use?
It seems like we talked about this when Mike Galloway helped us with rewriting the handbook last summer. I know he has said before, you don't have to put every policy in your handbook. It's just a starting point.
All right, maybe if we could get this ironed out a little bit, so something we all like and the employees can live with, certainly, maybe we just have it as the policy, not in the handbook. My thought on that. B, any employee charging through a credit card is responsible for arranging the sales tax exempt status of Floyd County. Yeah. Taxes charged due to failure of the employees to arrange for tax exempt status will be the responsibility of the employee. That's kind of the way it's worked. E, strictly, well, we're gonna separate each other, across the credit cards, are strictly for official county purposes. That's straightforward language there.
Although I think that second sentence should have a shall instead of a should.
I see that.
That's right. Law of expenditures include, but are not limited to, we need to update that at all?
Here again is where, when this was originally started, it was, if you have that opportunity that you could get something invoiced and then pay it through a normal claim, to do that. But now it's just, it's become such a convenience to
Right.
use the credit cards. Like all the credit cards.
Yeah,
personally.
That's what we're trying to, and just the
So-
problems that come with them,
Yeah.
make it easier to.
So it has in that second sentence that, use of the credit card or account shall be limited to goods and services which cannot efficiently be purchased by methods such as purchase orders or direct billing. That's what's not happening.
One person's definition of efficient might be different than the other.
So I don't know what more you might want to add there. I mean, if you could have a mile-long list
All right.
of stuff.
Department expenses as approved by department heads. Oh, that's a 7, okay. That's on top of that one.
Yeah, that $500 went away a long time
That's
ago.
gone too.
Yeah, I don't know if you, so the intent of that, and I don't remember, that was when you were here before, Mark, or what? But the intent was, you don't have authority over, the elected officials or those autonomous boards. They can, somewhat do whatever they wanted. And that was intended to be a courtesy that come to a board meeting and just tell us what's going on. Well, we don't have department heads come to board meetings very much. But that was the intent. If you had a purchase of $500, maybe what if it's $5,000? Or again, it was just, and that was not as just for credit card or account charges. That was if sheriff's buying a vehicle, or I'm buying election equipment, or it was a courtesy kind of thing to do. So I don't know that it really fits here.
Yeah, I'm beginning to think it does make sense, because we're not doing it.
No.
It's not happening, and so I'd like to get this kind of ironed out, so it's actually something that is understood in practice. So I'll probably exempt that.
So just take the pre-authorization off.
Right.
What number is that?
7.
Yeah.
Right there, okay.
Cash advances.
That's
Yeah,
handy.
the only thing that I'm ever been aware of cash advances is like when the sheriff's department has put somebody in a position to see if they get served at a bar or buying cigarettes, or they'll give that person, that staged person, cash to use that, but they write a check for cash. They don't put it on a card.
I don't think we need to too many cash advances.
Doesn't seem like a reason that if they write a check anyway, Larry says,
Yeah.
that could come out.
Number could be removed.
Yeah. We're under normal circumstances.
Well, it's saying it's restrictive though.
Yeah, you're saying it's not prohibited, yeah. Well, that's the only case I've ever heard of that they might need a cash advance. I don't know how we.
Yeah, but the use of using a credit card for it is not prohibited. Allowed is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
A competitive bid is required, I guess you keep it in there, obviously, that's.
But now I'm gonna say on F,
Yeah,
what's interesting with this is, let's say Gail misuses a card. Doesn't report to you. so you can't terminate. Do anything.
How can she get a card?
The chair is still authorizing a card up to 3,000, but they could go get their own. They're autonomous, they could do their own thing. An elected official could as well. It's just, we have this, it's worked great, we have this Visa account, and you have to have someone authorized to give, to do the credit. But I know, you know, we have carolers or something.
Santa Claus?
But we have, I know other departments have gone to, gotten an account at Quick Start. Nothing has gone through this, but they are autonomous. We don't do, like, I don't think the Board of Supervisors, because it's been set up before this, but Tyson's and Ace Hardware, never was Board of Supervisor approval to get that account set up, that charge account set up, but it was for this bank card that we have.
So the only check and balance is the claim will come through the board for review at some point.
Yeah, for review, but again, you still can't say anything about those autonomous conservation and public health. I mean, even myself, if I want to go set up an account somewhere, I don't have to have board approval to do it as an elected official. The only ones you do have that say over potentially is Bernie, Jacob, I suppose Jeff, or part of his, Jen, for part of her boards. It's carolers,
Sing it.
carolers.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's only things we can expect to do with this, I guess. Back to that one on F. So we don't have a clear-cut policy, and I know there's been questions asked and raised about first violation, second violation. We kind of just worked our way through that individually. There's nothing in here that talks about that. Continued, we have to notify someone if there's a first violation. Once they sign a credit card policy that we're gonna require into this new one, I would think, then that should be noticed that you have to meet these guidelines. And, you know, if we're talking about it at the Board of Supervisors meeting and you're all of a sudden not aware that we're doing it, that's your problem, I guess. You submitted the claim, it's in violation of something,
Yeah.
and we're talking about it. We shouldn't have to go back and tell somebody that, hey, by the way, you violated our policy.
They signed that they read this, so.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but it's a hard thing to say every, you know, one violation, two violations, we take your credit card away. I don't know, what do you think about that?
You gotta have some teeth in it somehow if you're gonna have the policy. I also wonder, a little bit different than that, we come down to cents sometimes that we're talking about. So do we have a tier? Yeah, you know, I don't know.
One time, I think we were talking about 30 cents.
I believe so.
And I understand it's wrong, but just how serious is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So going back,
what if you approached it differently? What if you, because a lot of times by the time it comes to the Board of Supervisors, it's already been resolved.
mhm.
So could it be a delegation to the chair that can, you know, Lexi gives her notice saying, here was a violation, and only if there's a time period that it hasn't been resolved, then it comes to the board? Could that, something like that be written into the policy?
Well, sometimes I wonder if the merchants miss it. I mean, they may have our sales tax, whatever it's called, on file, but the clerk behind it is doing the sale doesn't apply And our employee doesn't catch it until he gets to the office and he notices their sales tax.
Or sometimes they, once it goes through, and they say, well, you charge me sales tax, it seems like they can't take it off,
Right.
at that moment anyway.
I don't consider that to be fraudulent. But if a county credit card is used for personal purchases knowingly, or even by mistake, I think that's different if it's for personal use, but
And none of it's fraudulent, it's just misuse.
yeah, that's what I mean, misuse, yeah. But I agree with Jim, that if you have a policy, it should have some teeth, you know, but where's it reasonable and unreasonable, if there is such a thing?
Is 2 violations in 6 months reasonable enough to, put some teeth in it? And, you have a dollar amount that comes into play, or is it cut and dried as 1 penny and up, you know?
We've removed some county cards, right? Haven't we?
2, I think, 1 or 2.
Two, okay, since we've been in office.
Right,
Only Jeff's,
One.
Jeff's,
Just one,
1, okay.
and will he get it back ever?
We
it was 6 months, he got it back.
6 months.
He got it back because that's the charge, $14 in sales tax that you just had last year.
Okay.
And that was a charge that another department has the same charge and didn't have any sales tax on it, so
I
think,
saw that, noticed that too,
yeah.
for the
yeah,
same thing.
Yeah.
That was really confusing when I reviewed that.
Yeah.
Why is this and not that?
Because they had their account set up for the county attorney, and Jeff had his account set up for Board of Health or zoning or whatever, 2 different accounts. So sales tax
Okay.
was, exempt process was not followed through.
All right,
So that's where I think it can get sloppy when you throw a number there, because it still makes it an inappropriate use. And, but if it is something that could be, rather than come into the full board and something that's been addressed and that the policy, because Elizabeth, I printed Elizabeth one email on this. This was in regard to Jeff's. The board will want to address this. I know you stated this was a first-time offense, but sadly, this has become prevalent in other counties and should be addressed by the Board of Supervisors. Jeff needed to make payment immediately, which he already had. It will be up to the Board of Supervisors if they are comfortable making payment of the credit card company without his reimbursement. That's where if we don't do it, we're gonna get penalties and interest on it. So we've been paying them. You will want to document their approval of his claim in the minutes, so you have official record of what the board decided to do in this situation. And so with that, she said that that's because of the way our, not in here, but in our conversation, the way the policy is written is that, that it's not allowed. And so because it's not allowed, the board needs to address it. But if you had another means of handling it, such as, like I say, chair is overseeing that, or whomever, that, you know, there's correspondence that it's being addressed. Rather than, and she just said once, and this is our practice has been, once the employee makes the payment, that they reimburse the county for it, that we attach miscellaneous receipt to the credit card claim so that we have documentation for that transaction. So if we have documentation from the chair, if the policy says that the chair has oversight on it, and then we have that documentation that the chair signed off on it, then it would need to come to the full board.
there anything else we need to talk about here on this that we haven't yet here on these? Well, avoiding late fees. We have to turn in any claim now within 30 days to be reimbursed on anything else, so that's kind of timely submission of credit card statement. Should be handled in the same manner. Lost or stolen cards should be reported immediately. Prior to changing departments or ending employment with the county, credit card should be turned into the department head and reported to the auditor's office.
So maybe that, again, I'm gonna separate charge accounts versus cards that, lost or stolen or misuse, lost or stolen, misuse of account, like that. And because I guess I'm just looking at this, if well, you did on the previous page, if the department heads are the only ones that are getting the cards, there wouldn't be,
They wouldn't have some delivery.
there wouldn't be an employee or. Yeah.
Right. Okay, in the summary, we want this to apply to everyone, or we want department heads to be able to set more restrictive laws. Well, they're only gonna have one, it won't apply. At least for credit cards.
Yeah, there's only one card per department.
Anything else on this you can think of?
I know there's other policies that have gone around through our base camp that maybe there might be something that might stick out to the policy. See what's out there for those.
Is there anyone listening on the call-in line, wish to make a comment regarding this? Well, why don't we just draft something up? It doesn't have to, maybe, I know, to take up at a future meeting regarding this. I think it's an issue that, we continually get from time to time. We just sort of, we need to address it. So I don't know if it's gonna be the next one or a future one.
Maybe be getting a department head input on it as well.
That's a good idea. Put it on department head agenda, discuss what we talked about, get some input, and then act on it shortly after that. To give us a little time to kind of work through some of the things we talked about here today. Is there anything else regarding the credit card policy? Future agenda items.
Chair, did you have a chance to speak with Jason Webster on, he had an item that he didn't know if it should be on the agenda or not, and I suggested that you guys talk about it and see. And actually it was, the topic was brought up at the Sunshine Law.
I was listening as that came up. That I have not.
Okay.
But I will.
Okay. Other than that, yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, I was listening, thinking the same thing.
Okay.
Talking about security, and if that's a item that is not, well, there were certain qualifications that certain things regarding security issues are not subject to the open meetings law notification. Yeah.
I had a call last week, and maybe you two did, from a lady in Rockford with the Elder Bridge.
Yes.
Having trouble funding their Meals on Wheels or
It wasn't
senior.
from elders though, right?
No,
She
it was,
from the community kitchen.
yeah, community kitchen in Rockford.
Oh, Camille, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, she mentioned Elder Bridge to me, but that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were short of funds, that's what it amounted to, and I don't know if there's anything we can do to help them or not.
Maybe you guys will talk with her too, but got some information for her, and I kind of started getting the ball rolling. I talked to Gloria, and we had some.
Is it Barbara somebody? Or?
Mark Brown.
Barbara.
Proud,
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know the lady, but a nice visit.
Yeah. Nice gal.
So, our next meeting would be normally scheduled for Tuesday, the 27th. But, one of the board, Supervisor Keeper, is gonna be gone that day. And so, I was hoping, there's a number of things that we're gonna talk about at that meeting, that we could, schedule our meeting, at a time when he's back. Perhaps Thursday, the 28th.
I can make that.
It's not so easy doing it on the phone, is it, Jim?
You're less engaged, and
Yeah.
I was actually traveling, and it was probably on my end. I had to dial in more than once. It got disconnected.
Would that
It
set
worked.
anything, if we did set it on the 28th, that sounds like, that require anything procedurally or out of the ordinary for claims or anything?
yes, I would, whatever day you said, I'll just tell Lexi to hold. That actually works well because Lexi's going on Tuesday also,
Okay.
so that would work better for us.
Looking at Friday, the 29th. Is that what I heard?
We were talking, Dennis thought he'd be back to 28th.
Oh, Thursday, the 28th.
Yeah.
As of now, I mean,
Should do the 28th then.
should be good.
All right.
So would you consider, if you do that, could we not do claims on the 2nd of January to kind of keep that meeting moving for budget stuff?
Pretty short turnaround if you did. If you had claims in between those two. I don't see why that would be a problem.
Claims have to be turned in by noon on
Then
Wednesday.
you just, yeah, then,
Yeah,
okay, so claims would have to go in noon the 27th, right?
yeah, for Monday's meeting, but she could get claims by noon on Wednesday or Thursday's meeting and not have claims on the 2nd, January 2nd.
Okay.
We can get notice out too.
Other future agenda items, we're gonna talk about boards and commission appointments at the next meeting. How we need to make some appointments at the next meeting,
Make some,
for those positions that we have yet to fill on, Board of Health, on zoning commission, Board of Adjustment.
I have one from the condemnation board to fill a position of Scott Johnson.
you can get those to me, I can put that sheet together, if you've got
Do
people.
you want that now?
Whenever,
Dean Stewart?
that everybody else is the same. Okay. Dean was replacing
Scott.
Scott, that's what it's
Yeah,
got.
Scott Johnson.
Is a compensation board meeting separate in the February?
Yeah.
Every year.
And then for your own boards and commissions, is that what you're reading as well, all the ones that you need to do that on the 28th also, so?
Well, just at least talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if anybody's wanting to make changes, do it at that reorganization meeting, if there's anybody who wants to change any of that stuff, we can certainly discuss that. Who's gonna be the next chair? Let's see. Oh, and kind of one thing I'd like to put on there is kind of a review, just discussion for board supervisor board meeting changes, review, discussion, how did it work? We've implemented these rules and how do you think that worked out? So it's an item we talked about on the 28th as well. Anything else?
I don't have anything.
All right. All right, guess that's all of that. Is there any motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, a motion by Supervisor George, and second by Keeper to adjourn. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
To turn off the music, press 1.